What will you do with your business and your life in 2024? In today's episode of the Brand Gravity Show, I'm going to walk you through a year-end reflection exercise that I like to do at the end of every year and share just some personal insight stories about how 2023 went for me and what I am changing and focusing on in 2024. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, psychology-driven brand strategist, Kaye Putnam. I have some really big news. I don't want to bury the lead, but do stick around through this episode because I have a few really exciting exercises that I want to share with you that I think are going to be massively valuable. But one of the decisions that I came through after going through this exercise is that I'm going to pause this podcast. It's really bittersweet. I've been having amazing conversations with incredible guests who have so much genius to share. However, when I went through one of the exercises that I'm going to share a bit later, I'm realizing that some of the other things that I put my time and my energy and focus into yield greater results, greater impact with even potentially less effort. It's not to say that effort is bad, but I want to make sure that I'm always investing my time in the things that are A, lighting me up the absolute most, and B, having the biggest impact on the people that I teach, that I lead, that I share this content with. Now, I think the podcast has been an incredible success. We have, I don't know the exact episode number, I should have looked it up right before I started recording here, but it's been about 1.5 years of incredible guests. So none of that is going away. You can return to any of the previous episodes that you've missed. All of them are worth it, and none of them are particularly timely in that the value in them isn't going to diminish. So I feel like we have this incredible library of previous conversations that I'm going to continue to leverage, continue to share. And my decision to pause the future production of more episodes doesn't mean that I'm going away either. I'm simply redirecting some of that effort, and I'm going to talk about what I've decided on as we work through some of the reflection exercises. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be creating content, particularly on YouTube. So if you're listening to this audio only version of this podcast, I do invite you to follow me over on YouTube. We share video versions of every podcast. And then in between those podcast episodes, even while the podcast has been running, I share solo episodes where I focus more deeply on a single topic. And what I'm seeing is that those solo videos, those more traditional, optimized, focused, impactful YouTube videos are having a bigger impact. People are getting more of a benefit listening to that type of content as opposed to conversations that are 30 or 40 minutes long that might jump from topic to topic or just cover a wider breadth of insight. So it's not to say that the podcast will never come back, but for the foreseeable future, I am making that decision to pause new episodes. I know that that can be disappointing information to hear, especially when you've been tuning in every single week or just, popping in when an episode looks interesting. I hope that this decision gives me the ability to serve you even better in the future. And I'd love to have a conversation below if you are watching on YouTube. What types of content would you love to see more of? What topics are you interested in learning about? What are you working on in your brand right now to share your genius with the world? So it's not a goodbye, but like I said, a redirection, and one that I'm really excited about because it's making space for some new projects in 2024 that I'm really lit up about and really excited about. And I can't wait to share more of those with you as the year progresses. But let's dive in. The magic of reflecting on the previous year means that you are continuously curating and creating your own reality. As entrepreneurs, this could not be more important. We don't have a boss that's telling us what we have to do. We have the mandate and the responsibility to make sure what we're working on matters. And that matters word is different for each and every one of us. There's certain activities that might generate the most money. There's other activities that might generate the most energy. and others that generate the most joy. And then there's this pesky subset of activities that we do because we think that we have to, and because it's something that we've done for a while, and we get stuck in a rut. And if we don't do this reflection, we can find our quality of life continuously diminishing if we're not careful. Intentional curation is the magic behind building the types of days that we want to live, our dream day. And that feeds into the weeks that feel really fulfilling and exciting, which creates our years. So especially for somebody with ADHD brain like mine, I have a lot of trouble looking out actually 12 months in advance. I'm typically planning on a 90-day cycle, but it's easier to look back. It's easier to reflect on what has been working or like what has happened and make the intentional effort to put more of that in your coming days. So that's what I'm going to focus on. It may be a little bit hard to read, especially if you're on a phone. So I'll talk through, especially for those of you that are listening on the audio version of this podcast, but I have a whiteboard or a big paper set up here that's going to help me structure these exercises with you. But I have some months listed out, January actually through June, and I've stopped because my brain just doesn't go quite that far and doesn't plan that far in advance. So I don't pressure myself to. I focus on what is right in front of me. I know what my long-term goals are. I know what my ultimate vision for my life is, but I don't need to know exactly what's going to happen in September or October of 2024 to be moving in that direction. I leave some space for interpretation and flexibility and creativity because those things are really important to the way that my brain works and the way that my life works. So the first thing that I would love for you to do with me is to grab a notebook, grab a piece of paper, phone notes, whatever it is. Hopefully you're not driving at the moment. Otherwise, you can return to this episode and actually do some of these exercises instead of just listening to them. But on one half of the sheet, write a plus sign. And then on the other half, write a minus sign. And the first step is just to reflect on what happened in the last year. And we can categorize these into two buckets. What's something that happened that was a net positive? What was really exciting? What was a really great memory? What was either a habit that you had or a memory or an activity, an event, something that already happened? So we're in the reflection stage of this process. So on my plus side of my equation, I write things like all of the travel that I got to do in 2023. It was a really exciting year mixed with friends travel, a little bit less family travel than we've done in the past. And then I actually did a fair bit of solo travel as well for work-related trips, which was amazing and super exciting. And then also for some friends trips, some girls-only trips. So on the plus side, I'm going to write travel, and I'm even going to break it down. We have friends travel, we have solo travel, and in particular, I am obsessed with downhill skiing. I talk about it an annoying amount with my husband and with my friends that also ski or snowboard or enjoy mountain life. So skiing is always a really big plus category. We try to go at least once per year. On the work side of things, a major plus for me was my client FreeWild. FreeWild is a modern hospitality brand based in Encinitas in Southern California. Our flagship location is located in Idlewild, California. I got to visit it last year. I've been helping build that brand and their marketing strategy over the last year, and that is a massive, massive plus. And then I can think about the smaller things that have brought me joy throughout the year as well. We have been planting a garden every year since COVID times, and we really enjoy that process. My husband and my kids and I, we have these incredible jars of salsa, homemade salsa that we made from our tomatoes and our peppers from our plants. Also, we got a fairly good yield of sweet potatoes and potatoes this year as well. So the garden is a plus. And then my health journey has been a massive impact on the positive side as well. We've been kind of on again, off again with the gym, more on than off, and just having that time to spend with my husband because he's been working remotely or just locally here with a more flexible schedule. We make that time to go together, and it's a great relationship builder. It makes me feel amazing. love the endorphins, so all of the gym time. And then on the negative side, what are some of the things that you have been doing or that have happened? Maybe you have control of them, maybe you don't, but what do you want less of in your life as you move into 2024? I continue to have a tension-filled, I don't know if that's the right word. I have a habit of using my phone and scrolling too often. Part of this is because it's part of my work and I'm tapped into what's happening on social. I'm creating for social media. I'm creating for YouTube, but I also spend quite a bit of time just reading, and that's sometimes neutral, but I think it takes up too much time. So I'm going to put phone use on negative. Another negative has been, we're trying not to broach like TMI territory here, but some relationships have been full of kind of like drama and negativity and miscommunication, these types of things. So there's certain relationships in my life that I would actually like less of in 2024. So that's one of them I would put in my negative column. And then again, because I'm aware of how my brain works, another negative for me is having too many calls. So anytime that I have a week that's just chock full of calls, even if each of those calls individually are amazing, when I get too much of them, that becomes a massive energy drain and it takes my attention and energy away from more long-term projects. So I have to be mindful of my call schedule. All right. So I think you get the point here. Taking stock, we're taking an audit of what has been in 2023. And then the next step here is to circle, say, the top 3 in your plus column that you want to make sure that you're bringing down into 2024. What do you want to make sure that you continue to do or that you make time for, you schedule in your upcoming year so that you get more of the same, more of that goodness and that energy that brings. So in my example, I'm circling skiing. Definitely want to schedule another ski trip. I think we're going back to Colorado this year. Free Wild, definitely want to make more time. We're in the process of making my role larger and more permanent. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting that closer to that. So I'm really excited to make more time and make that more of a priority in my days, months, weeks. And then also the gym. It's really important to me to manage my energy as a human first because that pours into everything else that I do. So those are the top 3 things that I want to make sure that I'm literally scheduling throughout my 2024. And then another thing that I'd like to do is on a very high meta level, I like to brainstorm a list of words that I want to embody, that I want to feel, that I want to be in 2024. So some of these for me, I'm not going to write them all down because it means I have to turn away from my mic. So we'll keep this in front of me here instead of writing it behind me. But just circle the word words and around it create just a cluster of words, like a word map of how you want 2024 to feel and what you want it to include. So for me, these are things like real estate. We have been in this process of building a rental cabin in the mountains of North Carolina for the last 3 years. It's taking forever. We are nearly done. So we're about to get into the point where we are finishing up the decoration, the interior design, and all of the hospitality elements. So I'm working on building a guidebook, and that is truly going to become an asset, like a cash flowing asset for us in 2024. So real estate, both personally, and then the Free Wild business is based around real estate and hospitality. So those are 2 words for me. Another one is collaboration. I love to work with peers, to collaborate with industry leaders, to learn from other people, and that magic that happens when smart people come together, they have conversations, particularly in person. So I think I might even put like a star here. It's in-person collaboration. And then the larger bubble around that is I want online collaboration as well. Related to real estate, but the word equity is coming up. I want to continue to invest in assets that give me equity in different business ventures or different valuable assets. So that means investing more in my retirement. That means investing more in the existing real estate that we have and keeping an eye out for other opportunities like that where I get to invest and have some portion of ownership in different ventures or assets. Another one that's been on my list for a while is long-term thinking. I lean towards the visionary side of the equation. I see less details. I see the bigger picture. And one of the reasons why I've been able to grow this business year after year is because I prioritize long-term thinking. I'm kind of allergic to what I call doing the business dishes. I hate doing the things that you just have to do again and again and never is done. So I love to build assets. I love to build systems. I love to build funnels. I love to build long-term assets, which I've already said, but I'd like to build what I call my body of work. Because at the end of the day, I'm selling transformation, I'm selling knowledge, I'm selling insight, I'm selling speed to get to a certain result. And I can't demonstrate trust and leadership to this market, to the people that I want to serve, without building a body of work that largely I give away for free. So it's really important to me to continue to build and develop both the assets that I already have, shining a light on like the incredible courses that I've already developed, the workshops that I create for my brand Clarity Collective. These assets can be used again and again and can benefit a larger amount of people because it is a long-term asset. It's not just a single call with a single person, which can also have a long-term impact. I think you get the idea there. Another one that's popping up for me is the word flow. I love that feeling when you get into a project that you are so lit up and passionate about that you lose track of time. So I want to prioritize more of those types of projects. Stepping into wisdom, I'm closer to 40 than 30 or 20. I'm getting older and I'm embracing that. So I want to find ways to give back to the younger generation, people that are coming into this online world, coming into entrepreneurship. And I also want to share what I've been learning. I want to share how I create work-life balance, how I prioritize what's important to me, and how I create this life that I'm really excited about. So stepping into the wisdom that I already have, and then continuing to grow and learn and experiment and push outside of my comfort zone. And then another, and the final phrase that's really important to me, and it has been in previous years and it will continue to be in 2024, is to prioritize doing the things that make memories that stick. For me, this looks like we don't remember what happened on some random Saturday when we just sat in front of the TV or cleaned the house. But we do remember the camping trips. I remember taking my kids on a 10-mile backpacking camping trip this past year and how much they were absolute rock stars. Of course, my husband and I carried most of the weight, but they carried their own as well. And I want to do more of that just is memorable because it's different, and memorable because you're sharing that experience with people that you really enjoy being with, whether that's friends or family or people that you're working with. So more memory making in 2024. And then once we have that vision of what we're trying to create, I also like to start to brainstorm all of the things that I could do. So your next step is to create what I call a good idea fairy list. And the good idea fairy list are all of the things that you could do. And you can pull from both your vision of that word cluster that we created for 2024, and then also pull some from the plus and then also from the minus. So how can you mitigate or minimize some of those minuses as you're moving forward, and brainstorm a big list of all of the things that you could do in 2024. So for me, this is where I realize I'm like, hey, the calls are really kind of like eating up my schedule. They disrupt the flow, they disrupt the creativity and the flexibility that I really value. So where am I spending a lot of time on calls? And the podcasts are actually a really big piece of that call calendar that I was spending in 2023. And this is where that clarity came and that decision was made, where I'm going to pause the podcast and refocus on different long-term assets that I can create that I think are going to have more impact and that are going to bring me more energy. So that's one example. Another example is I want to shine the spotlight back on assets, courses that I know are incredibly transformational, but I haven't launched or promoted in a while. My Convert with a Quiz course shares every step of how to create a high converting lead generating quiz. It's had the most incredible difference in my business, and I teach you the process of how to implement one for yourself. But I haven't launched that course in over 9 months. I think it was 9 or even 12 months ago that I last shone the spotlight on that course and reminded people that it existed and invited people into that course. Yes, it's available as an evergreen, so you can join at any point, but people move when they're motivated to. They move where the energy and the awareness is. So it's up to me as the creator of that asset to shine a light on it. That's another good idea, Fairy. So I could relaunch the quiz course. I could remind people that it exists. I can invite them in and I can give them a reason to do so. So that's coming in January. Also, I really want to add some more physical challenges into my life. I'm missing that since we did our last really big physical challenge in 2019, which seems like a lifetime ago, when we trekked up to Everest Base Camp. And I learned so much from that trip. So I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to add something like that, maybe on a smaller scale, maybe not all the way over in Nepal and maybe not a 3-week-long adventure, but some type of physical challenge that I can use to motivate those gym sessions that I already decided were important to me. Kind of the first one will be skiing because I have to get my ski legs back underneath me so that I have the best time possible during that ski trip. But I'm going to be looking out for something else later that is just a good idea fairy list. It's on my good idea fairy list. And you can spend a lot of time here because there's all kinds of things that you could do. But the next step after you have a long list is to start deciding what you are going to do. And one of the ways that we can decipher this is by looking at each item on the good idea fairy list and giving it a rating on what is the effort that it would take to do this versus what is the potential impact, particularly the long-term impact on either your business or your life. And we're looking for things that have the lowest amount of effort, so it's kind of low-hanging fruit, but it has the highest amount of impact. And then after that, we can start to look at what is potentially high effort. So it's going to take some work, it's going to take time, energy, etc., but it is really high on the impact scale. And once you start to narrow down your good idea fairy list to a list of maybe, 4, 5, 6 things that you want to do, then you can start mapping them out over your upcoming months in 2024. This is how I plan, this is how I prioritize, this is how I make sure that I'm creating a life that I'm excited to live and that I'm constantly reassessing what my values are and what my priorities are, because we can do anything, but we can't do everything. We have to decide. And when you don't decide, you can get stuck in a loop of being exactly where you were and staying exactly where you are, and also feeling like a victim of circumstance to the circumstances that you set up in your life. So how can we be more mindful? How can we be more intentional and create the memories, create the environment, create the body, create the health, create the business that we want to create? And it's through exercises like this that we can find our own clarity, because clarity exists in our own mind. We have access to clarity. We just have to do the work of reflecting on what's working, what's exciting us right now, what we want to lean into, and then making time for it in the days, weeks, and months to come. We moved through that quickly. The actual time it'll take to complete this exercise will be longer because you'll want to spend time. This can be a really great journaling exercise. If you have a big sheet of paper like this, it's massively satisfying to have it all filled out and in front of you. And I'm really excited to hear what you're going to focus on first in 2024. What are you going to change? So what's a decision that you're making? Maybe something you're letting go of, something you're going to do differently. And then what are you leaning into? What are you pursuing more of in this upcoming year? Please share in the comments if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast. I would love if you sent me a DM on Instagram or even sent me an email, kaye@kayeputnam.com. Love to hear from you and continue this conversation. And with that, it's kind of a see you later. It's kind of a bittersweet ending to this 1.5 year run of the Brand Gravity Show. But as a reminder, I still am showing up and serving you. I'm still going to be creating content. It's just going to have a slightly different format. So if you're over listening to this on your favorite podcast app, this will be the last episode that we post to those platforms, but I will continue to be creating as valuable content as possible over on YouTube that is more targeted, more useful, and more intentional to help you grow your brand, to help you get more of your genius out into the world so that you can change the world in the way that only you can. Also, another thing that I'm prioritizing is workshops inside of my brand Clarity Collective. So in December, we're teaching a workshop about how to build your email nurture sequence. How are you actually converting people from casual freebie seekers or somebody that is enjoying your free content into somebody that's excited to buy your offers? That all happens on the email list primarily. So I'm teaching you my system to do that on autopilot and to do it very intentionally with every single person that comes into your orbit if you're in the Brand Clarity Collective in December. And then in January, I'm going to be teaching about YouTube strategy. So how can you create the highest performing, most engaging, most exciting YouTube videos that will support your business growth, sales, and audience growth. So those are coming up. I'm excited for those opportunities to share what I know with those people, with those incredible entrepreneurs that are in the Brand Clarity Collective. And then, like I said, we are shining the spotlight back on some of our other courses and offers as well in the upcoming months, things that already exist that are incredibly valuable that I want to make sure that you know about. So some of those are coming up as well. So I'm still here. I'm still doing this branding plus psychology thing. I'm making more space for projects like Free Wild that I'm really lit up about and excited to help grow as a key team member in that business. And then we're continuing to impact brands and help people start and grow brands in the online space through my courses and then through the free content that I create. I can't wait to read your comments. I can't wait to continue this conversation, and happy holidays and happy 2024. I can't believe it's almost here. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you.